Hello, today we're going to be talking about Ghost of Yotei. Now, I was a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima, I would say. But at the end of the day, your first game's success doesn't really has nothing to do with your sequels or anything after. If you majorly change what the first game was about. And I'm not saying that you had to be exactly like Tsushima, I'm just saying Jin's story wasn't exactly done. There was multiple ways they could have done another Tsushima story, or that specifically needed to be about Tsushima, but I mean, you could have made a sequel with Jin. Instead, excuse me about that, instead we get what we have now, Yotei. Now, Yotei, by all means, I don't think Yotei will be a flop or anything along those lines. On the fact that it just didn't cost that much money. It's estimated to be around 60 million that it cost to produce Yotei. Now, whether that has marketing costs included or not, I don't know. But that's the number that's been floating around. 60 million is what Yotei cost. Now, granted, that's the one thing that has them going for, is the fact that excuse me, I don't know what's happening with my voice today. So basically, the 60 million might be their saving grace, so to speak, for the fact that it just didn't cost them like 200 or 300 million to make the game like a lot of AAA games nowadays make. So they don't need to recuperate that much cost as the other games. They can do with an okay selling and still break even, but that's not really the point when you are making games like these. It's to really making the money that your company was hoping for, and Tsushima was that for them. When they first released Tsushima, it sold very well. Now, Yotei is, well, reportedly selling well, but we don't have exactly the numbers or anything, but we have some information floating around. Now let's start with the first snippet here, which is Ghost of Yotei has reportedly sold over 1 million copies, selling faster than Ghost of Tsushima. Now, this thing is what article writers, journalists, whatever you want to call them, ran with when some guy with like almost 10,000 followers posted that, yeah, it sold 1 million. There is no actionable info on that. There was nothing to confirm it, nor Sony nor Sucker Punch confirmed any of that. It was just his analysis, and it's an unproven person's analysis, so take it with a grain of salt about it selling over 1 million copies. Now we have another person by the name of Christopher. He writes, the UK box launch for Ghost of Yotei is really good. It is number 1, which means it beat the second week of EA Sports FC 26 and sold them almost 3 times what Mario Galaxy 1+2 on Switch did. I don't report on physical charts much these days, but I thought this is notable. Now, first of all, what I'm gonna say is Ghost of Tsushima, that's an insult comparing Tsushima to Yotei. Ghost of Yotei is not exactly a competing with the audience that plays FC26. Now, granted, there is an audience that plays sports games and plays games like Yotei, Tsushima, and so on. But at the end of the day, the majority of audience that plays, let's say, FC games, that is really into the sports games only, couldn't care less about this. Nor what really racing games. But at the end of the day, I find it ridiculous. It's not getting compared to actually what Tsushima did. But with that said, somebody actually asked him any comparison with Tsushima possible. Thanks, Chris. It's down about 40%, but I still find it impressive. Now here's the thing. When a lot of people saw that Erika Ishii was the voice actress, people were like, yeah, it's just the voice actress, it's just the model, it's not going to be any different, it's still the same team. I don't have a screenshot for the same team, but I did a quick Google search, and there was only one guy out of the writing team that was in Tsushima that was also a part of Yotei. Now, one guy can make or break a game depending on how much control he has over like the story writing. as a writer. So I don't know about that. But at the end of the day, it's really not the same team as people have been claiming it is. It is Sucker Punch, but that doesn't mean it's the Sucker Punch that made Tsushima. Now, that's the thing. There's so many controversies, which is also what brings yotei sales down. It's just people don't want to mess with all the controversies about the Charlie Kirk situation with the developer and so on. That lost some sales. There's no need to even think about it. There are people that will not buy a game on principle. I haven't bought yotei because I'm just not interested in the story, and turns out that for me the story isn't for me really, especially considering what happens in it. And now we have another snippet. So it's calling Ghost of Yotei woke, but ignoring there's a canonically lesbian character in Tsushima. But these crystals will know that because they haven't played the game. Now, first of all, nobody really cares whether there's a lesbian character in a game or no. There's plenty of those around, been plenty of those around since, well, for a long time in gaming. It's not that we dislike lesbian characters or any of whatever you want. What we dislike is being forced. What we dislike is when it doesn't fit the story. What we dislike is when you input all these politics in games that doesn't make any sense. Why the hell are these politics in a time period where, let's be honest, they wouldn't really exist? It's not that we care so much that there's a lesbian character or a woman as a protagonist that we are just not gonna buy a game. Now, there are certain people that will not buy a game just because there's a female lead or there might be a lesbian character in it. But majority of people are not like that. Those are, well, for the lack of a better word, extremists. And the issue is that they think everything is like that. Like, if you don't buy a game, it's just because, oh, there's a character that you don't agree with. No. There's plenty of female lead characters in games that people love. On the top of my head, some Stellar Blade, some Resident Evil games. Like, people have no issue with female leads. Well, there are some people, like I said, they won't play a game if there's a female lead. I've also played plenty of games that have lesbian characters in them. And I didn't think those games were per se bad. It's just that when you have a story like Yotei's, let's be honest, it's just shadows all over again. It's the same typical revenge story. Oh, your family got murdered and now you're gonna revenge them, but then you have missions in the game that are against gun violence, but then you go and proceed and do the same gun violence against, well, the Yotei 6. What I also find ridiculous is the fact that in Yotei 6, of course, the only person that turns out to be good, well, good in terms, is the only female from the Yotei group, the Kitsune, and you end up, well, living with her and raising your brother's child that, well, the brother ends up dead at some point in the game. It's like, these stories don't fit nothing, man. It's like, it's a typical thing with these things. I at first was willing to look past that Erika is the model, but then I looked into it. Then she was a part of other projects like Veilguard, which also was a failure, and I noticed a certain pattern. She's in these projects that push an agenda. And that's when I was like, okay, Yotei is not for me. And it really isn't. Yotei is really, again, one of those games where men are bad, females are good, they can do everything. Boss girl game, basically. Why is it that people can no longer tell a good story, but it either has to be all men are bad, all women are good? Why can't there be good and bad people on both sides? Why can't there be men and female protagonists that are fine to be played as? Why do you have to insert politics in games that doesn't fit in game world? And by what that I mean is, take Metal Gear series as an example. The politics are in the game, but they fit the game's world. Why are you inserting real life politics in a game that was set in 1600s that has nothing to do with nowadays politics? It doesn't even fit the world. This is what I mean. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point some medieval simulator comes out and is filled with rainbow flags signifying the LGBT groups, even though back then such a thing didn't exist. And that's the issue with the games nowadays. They all tell the same stories. There's nothing innovative about them. And honestly, I don't see a very bright future for games if this continues. Because, and let me be clear, this is not because there's a lack of talent. There's plenty of talent, except the talent is overlooked or not listened to because all these companies are filled with people that only like the people that are of the same opinion as them. That's why you get the same amount, same story games, the same ideologies, everything. Why can't you just make a game and be done with it? Leave your ideologies, your politics to the real world. Just make an entertaining product. Why have all this? Let's insert all these lesbians, let's insert that men are evil. Just push an agenda. And this is what I mean. When you start noticing a pattern, you're just not gonna buy these games no more. There is no goodwill as there was back in the early days of gaming. If you saw a name like, I don't know, Ubisoft back then, you were like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it because it's Ubisoft. Nowadays companies do not have that. And nowadays people have a lot more options than just Western gaming. While Western gaming is failing, getting bought out by other companies out there like EA did, Eastern gaming is on the rise. They're providing people what they want. A good game. With no politics inserted. Yes, there are certain censorship with some, per se, Dragon Quest games. I don't like that either. Just leave the game as it was instead of remastered. And what is also a big issue with these games is the fact that they're not only competing now against other premium priced games, but now there are plenty of free-to-play games that are coming out that are of the quality of these premium games. If not even better if you look at some. Like, just take an Anta or Where Winds Meet. Those games have such good quality from what I've seen. I've played beta of Where Winds Meet, so I have a bit more experience on that. But Where Winds Meet really had a good combat system. The world, I can't really say nothing outside the graphical quality of it, which was pretty nice. It was beautiful looking. And story, obviously, since it was a beta, I didn't really get to explore that much of it. So can't comment on that, but the most important fact, the gameplay was fun. What gameplay for me for Tsushima is basically the same as I'm sorry, I meant Yotei, is the same as Tsushima, but downgraded. Instead of having styles that you can switch between, you give them weapons. Some people might prefer dual katanas, some might prefer a single katana, some might prefer an odashi. But instead of having those weapons in the game and having a style switch like it was in Tsushima, you just decided that some weapons work against some weapons better, which is a very simplistic way, which is basically Tsushima's combat, just not as, well, good for me. It's just so boring to me that if you have a weapon that you like, you cannot use it because, oh well, somebody decided in the development team it doesn't work on spears. But nevertheless, I got off track. They are competing against games like Where Winds Meet. which are gonna be free to play. So now people are gauging it this way. Why would I play an $80, $70, $100, whatever it is, game when this free to play game gives me an experience that's maybe even better or the same quality as your $80 games? At this point, I don't see why I would waste $80 on a game. And that's the thing. Gaming has become very expensive. And a lot of it is self-inflicted with over-bloated budgets. But also some of it is just pure greed. Let's be honest. A lot of these games are not even worth 70. Not even 60. But they're priced at like 80. Which, in turn, makes people that were on the fence about buying the games seeing the price and going, I won't buy it. The same way is with certain remakes, remasters, like the Dragon Quest one is like 70 euros on the PS Store. The upcoming Dragon Quest one. I won't buy it for the fact that it's 70 fucking euros. I can launch an emulator and play a Dragon Quest. Or if I still happen to have the old consoles, handhelds that they were on. I just don't see the point of playing games that you're not really sure you're interested in. And this is what these people can't accept, that people just do not want to buy a game because they're not interested in it. It's that simple. People will buy a game or not, or anything entertainment wise, whether they're interested or not. And if you don't provide an interesting enough product for certain people, people will just not buy it. And that's yotei to me. I'm just not interested in it. Not just because Jin is no longer the protagonist, it's just the whole premise of the game is no longer interesting to me. And it has to do with the direction the game went. I'm just not interested in the story, which was a huge part of what I liked about Tsushima. But this video is getting all long now, so I'll end it here, and I'll see y'all next time.